Okay, we're here, we did it. Jazz hands for you. Jazz fingers. I hope you're doing well. I'm a little out of it today, but we're here anyway. So many things going on. You should see my to-do list. It's crazy. I have album promotion and working on setting up some new fun and exciting workshops for you, book magic people. So that is coming soon. And I think the thing I wanted to talk about today is the thing that a lot of people want out of their voice. And that is to figure it out, number one, just to figure out what's going on. But once we get into technique stuff, there's a block that happens for some people. And that is, okay, I know how to do these things. Why doesn't it sound good? Why doesn't it sound the way I want it to? And that is because it is lacking that trust in yourself still. And that's totally normal. And so we call this like the limbo phase, right? In between learning how to do stuff, you have some beginner breakthroughs and you go, and you're like, wow, that sounds so much better. It feels so much better. And then you have this period of time where you're like, I have gotten all of the big moves out of the way. And now I'm stuck, what feels like stuck in this part of my learning and my growth that is like there's something missing and I don't know what it is. You know, like the technique is there. I know all of the exercises and workouts and all of that. I'm doing them, but maybe I've gotten a little bit off track and maybe I could do them more often. That's usually the case with intermediate level people as well. Not that I enjoy those labels of levels of singing. I don't think that exists. Everybody has their own scale of gauging where they are in their growth. But after a while, everybody starts to feel this, like you're going up a hill and then all of a sudden the hill gets steeper, right? Like you slow down a little bit on your trajectory. And it feels like there is a thing that you can see, but you can't reach it yet. And that is the distance between that is the full trust in your voice. And you don't have that yet because of empirical evidence is lacking. So it's totally not your fault, right? It's not like I can just say, like, you got to trust yourself more and you just magically do it. That's not how trust works. You know, unfortunately, trust requires evidence. And if that evidence is not there, the thing that we need to close that gap feels so much harder to get. So some of this is just kind of faking it till you make it for the first little bit of this limbo period. It is saying, look, I don't have 100% trust in myself, but I'm going to talk to myself like I do. Like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to hit that high note, but I am going to not let the gremlin voice in that says, are you sure you can hit that high note? Because the person who could hit that high note would not be worried about that, right? So you're thinking, okay, yes, I can do it, no question even, right? I'm not even going to give any extra time thinking about that high note because I can totally hit it, right? And that sounds like you're lying to yourself. But that's kind of what growth is in all aspects, right? Like if you're applying for a job, chances are there's going to be part of that job that you don't have experience in yet because you don't have that job yet. So a little bit of you has to lie to yourself and say, yes, I can do that job, even though I don't have the empirical evidence, you know? Like, this is kind of a strange metaphor nowadays, but like, because we have GPS and all that stuff, but like you're going somewhere new and you look up the directions ahead of time and you're like, I've never been on that road before or taken that exact way, but I think I get the concept enough to wing it enough, And then once you go that way, then you have the empirical evidence and you have the experience and you know exactly what those roads look like. But that first time takes a little bit of a leap of faith, for lack of a better word, So when we're in this space, those default patterns can come back in really strong. And for a lot of people, especially those of us who are perfectionists, those of us who are in this world of overthinking, anxious people, singers, we tend to close ourselves off to the possibility that we can do it right without the knowledge ahead of time. That's basically what perfectionism is. Like, I don't know that I can do it right, so I'm not going to do it, And so we get into this space of like, I don't know that I can hit that high note. I know I have hit it like not ideally before. So the only evidence I have is bad. And so your body is going to react to that knowledge that the only experience you have with this note is bad. No, why are we disconnected? Hopefully you can still hear me. These patterns that have come to be our norm. And if we believe that voice in our head that says this is not going to be easy, ease is not going to show up in the body. It is going to be difficult, and that equals muscle over engagement a lot of the time, for me anyway, and for a lot of my students. So look at this in yourself when you're about to go for a new thing, a new challenge, whether it's a run or a high note or a big belty sound, whatever feels new for you. Notice what comes into your body right before that. Notice the thoughts that are happening. Is there trust there? Is there ease there? Notice what shows up in your body. Is there clenching? Is there over tightening? Is there ease there? We need to find more ease. That's how we get to close that gap between where we are and where we want to be, right? Like maybe you can hit that note, but it sounds squeezed and it sounds uncomfortable, and your only experience with that note is too high for me. I don't like how it sounds, gross, right? So that is a thing that shows up, and it is totally valid, and we can change that over time. Maybe you show up for that note, what happens right before, and this takes slowing things down and rehearsing and not doing this at a gas pedal to the metal speed. We want to take things apart and say, okay, what goes through my head and what goes through my body before I go for that high note, before I go for that run, before I go for that big note. I guarantee you'll notice one of those things that I mentioned. Either a destructive thought, which again, not your fault, but we can change the reaction to it. It's going to be it may not feel destructive, but it may feel like, ooh, I don't know about this, right? I don't have the empirical evidence, the unsureness, the hesitation, and that will also show up in your body as grabbing, right? As holding, right? Holding on to the handrail so you don't fall off the cliff when you try this note. So just notice what shows up in your body and in your mind and your whole energy. And then we can backtrack a little bit and say, okay, I see firsthand now how this reaction, as subconscious as it may be, of I don't know about that note. I can see firsthand how I got from that thought and that feeling, that essence, to trying to sing the note and everything pulls in and up. And that note is squeaky again, you know? So it's a thing. It happens to all of us. You're so not alone. And we can take charge and we can say, my destination, my priority is ease, right? No matter what. So in order to gain that trust in myself, I kind of have to lie to myself and say, look, what would a person who got that note say? I would be like, okay, no issue. I'm thinking about the next one already, right? I'm not worrying about this one. I'm not sticking on this one because it's not a problem. I'm already thinking about what the next line is, what the next lyric is. I don't know, I'm pausing a lot. My internet is being weird again. Anyway, I'm going to go soon. But that's the idea. To build trust, sometimes we have to reverse psychology ourselves and say, look, I got this. This high note is actually a low note. That's one of my favorite magic tricks. If you think it's a low note, your body's going to react to a low note with ease. If you think it's a high note, your body's going to react to a high note with, oh God, here it comes, right? So we're trying to head off those precipitative responses by saying, I got this. Even if I don't have the evidence, I got this. Because the first time I do it, I need to take that leap. There is no other solution for not having evidence and needing to get evidence for the first time. Zero. It doesn't exist. That's the only way, is to try it. And the best way to try it is to think, I got this. Because if you're trying it with hesitation, your evidence is always going to be negative. Always, every time. That's just science, right? I'm not even a scientist. I took high school chemistry, but that's what I know, right? If you try it with hesitation, it's not going to work. If you try it the same way every time, that's the only evidence you're going to have. So we have to kind of lie to ourselves so that we can fly a little bit. We can take off and take the plane. What's the word? Let the plane take off from the ground. So that's what I want you to think about. Take that little leap. Give it a try with openness, with telling that gremlin to F off, as I've told you many times. Give it a test drive. Give it 5 test drives. See if you can take off the ground. And then you start to build that evidence up. Oh, I've been there before. Oh, I did that once. It's not impossible. Oh, I remember that feeling. I'm going to follow that feeling. I'm going to pay attention to what I'm thinking and be in charge of that. I'm going to pay attention to what my body's doing and be in charge of that. Instead of being along for the ride, you are the driver. That's where ease comes from. From taking that leap, taking that first drive through the neighborhood, and then you know the way. You got this. Okay, bye. Do.